Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon. Listen in as him and other members of the J Harmon Home Team speak about all things real estate with local experts here in the Middle Tennessee area. Be sure to check out jharmonhometeam.com for more information and how to get in touch with our amazing team. Welcome to the show.
Shirt. We have precious little to celebrate, but at least we beat the Panthers.
Yeah, it's a sad time in Carolina.
Yeah, it's almost as sad in Tennessee. But
you're going to get a new coach.
Hey, yeah, that's
again.
There's that.
We just did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't even want to go there. Okay.
Did have a great time though. It was a good
Did you
time.
go to the game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my son was there with two of his buddies.
Nice.
Yeah. So, did you freeze?
No, it wasn't that bad.
No?
Actually, it was pretty bearable weather-wise.
Yeah. But not pantherable.
Nah, the football was not.
And what's this red button do? Because we might need to hit it at that.
I need that over here. That's for y'all. Swear words.
I do apologize. All right. I promise. That's it.
All right, this week in real estate.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. Hey, this week in real estate. So, real estate is still happening, folks. Contrary to popular belief right now, there are still things happening. We actually got an offer on one of my listings last night. We're working it today, and it's still happening. So, if you are buying, I'm gonna just lead with this disclaimer, and then Brian's gonna tell me all the reasons why I'm wrong, and that's okay. But if you are in the market, it is actually not a horrifically bad time to buy. But, and this is the but, right? The big old but is you can't buy based on what you think rates are going to do 6 months, a year, whatever from now. Is that a fair statement?
I'm not going to rip you for anything that you've said so far.
Okay. So it is actually a great time to buy on the house market side of things. It's just really difficult on the interest rate side of things, the mortgage interest rate. So be wary of folks that are telling you, oh, don't worry about the payment. Don't worry about the payment. You can just refinance it later. Can you just hold on for a certain period of time? That is really bad and dangerous advice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, think about all the people that bought in 2005, and they really stretched their budget. I'm sorry, 2005, in 2022, and when rates moved into the fives, and anybody that got that advice and was stretching their budget, and then they saw rates go all the way to 8, and they're thinking, man, I may never get to refinance. And in reality, they may not. They actually have a really good rate. So there's that to be thankful for, though, right?
Right.
So on the if hopefully their incomes have grown, hopefully they're doing okay, and they're comfortable with that payment. Hopefully they got good advice with the time that they bought, and they understood that if they're buying in this rate range, that might be where they stay. And there's no guarantee of being able to refinance. But I think a lot of people were just throwing out marry the house, stay at the rate, buy now, refi later, things like that. And those are all fun things to say, but they can lead to somebody having that kind of misunderstanding that there'll be a chance to refinance, and the reality is, those people may not.
And I think there's two things going on there. One is wishful thinking, right? Like, oh, we really need that rate lower, so if we really need it lower, therefore somehow it's going to go lower. That's one thing. But I think there's also a certain amount of folks in this industry, your side and my side. By the way, this is Bryan Nale with Primis Mortgage. I never did introduce our guest. If y'all listen to the show, if you know anything about the show, you know who it is. But I figured I'd go ahead and make the official introduction. And if you do need to nail that mortgage, this is your guy. We're not going to play your commercial because this whole damn show is going to be a commercial. But anyway, I think there's a certain amount of folks in this industry, being a 100% commission type industry, that, let's just be honest, there's a little desperation amongst some of those salespeople out there that are just trying to get a paycheck. They're just trying to get stuff moving.
Yeah.
And that's horrible to say, but it's reality.
It's,
so you got to watch out for those wolves.
Yeah, you do, and just
but not the Panthers. Oh, sorry.
Let's don't stop. No, I think that's really important, and just if you're thinking about, hey, is now a good time for me to buy a house? Should I do this? Maybe our family's grown, or maybe it's shrunk. Whatever reason you may have for moving. I think a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 they moved just because they could.
Just because they could. I 100% agree with that.
And it was like, man, we got to do this now, or we may never get a chance to.
Yeah,
And good for
I
them
don't.
to
I don't like
see
my
that
countertops.
opportunity.
Let's buy a new house. Yeah.
So, my wife bought a townhouse when she graduated from college, and it was actually in Laverne, right next to Laverne High School, and it was a nice place, perfect for her and me after we got married, and we'd been married for.
You mooched off of her.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh man, I always tell people there's two stories of should I get a credit card in college or not, and there's my wife who had great credit when she graduated and used her credit card responsibly, and then there's me that maxed out 3. So
yeah,
I can talk about credit from my own personal experiences.
Yes.
But so that the dishwasher broke in that townhouse, and next thing you know, we're buying a place in Blackman.
Yeah. Yep. But and I get it, right? If you're at the point of 2% interest rate, in the 2s, in the 3s, it's free money.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And now it's a big decision.
Right.
And especially if you're sitting in those 3s or 4s or even 2s, and you're contemplating, you got a new baby on the way, like you said, a life event of some sort. You really want to move mom in, whatever. Dad just passed away, and it's like, do we do an addition? Do we, what's a better
What's
use
the
of
right play?
Yeah.
Is it better to borrow equity in the home to add on? Is it better to go get a new mortgage? And those are questions that a lot of people are asking, and I think that's also kind of one of the things that's kind of choking the market right now. And if you look at how many of the listings and availability is new construction right now, there's a lot there.
I've got that. As a matter of fact, thank you for throwing that out there.
Okay.
This is the first time. So I've been in the business for 14 years, and this is the first time I remember this ever being the case. Okay, are you ready for this? New construction right now. This is on just single family in Rutherford County. Okay, that's it. Active and coming soon. New construction is 51.9% of the available inventory.
Wow.
It historically rides around 25 to 30.
Wow.
And I don't think, and I'd have to do the numbers on here, but I don't think that it's that there's significantly more units of new construction. I think there's significantly fewer units of existing homes, and so therefore it drives that percentage up.
That would make a lot of sense.
So just as an example, the lowest point in our available inventory was October of 2022, okay? And when I say lowest, this is within the last, 7 years, okay? It was in October of 2022. We are only 230 more units available right now this past October than that low point. And to put that in perspective, October of 2020, there was 1,000 more units available than October of last year.
Wow. And if you think about that and think about the context of what happened last October was when we made that huge step from, hey, things have actually risen from the 3s up to the 5s. We can
Totally skip the 4s.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
and we just about skipped the 6s too. And in October we went into the 7s.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember right, it was around October last year when that happened, and I'm sure that had a huge effect on the listings and how many people were like, you know what, yeah, let's move, let's buy a new house, because what are they gonna do?
And man, so many people. Listen, if you're one of the people that's saying what I'm about to say, you need to bite your tongue and listen to me, okay? I've heard so many people say, well, I don't know what the big deal is. When I bought my first house, it was 14 or whatever, right? 12 or, whatever. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. But let's talk about the reality of the perfect storm that happened at that moment. Okay. At that time, you had some inflationary situations. Your rates went from, they were sitting in the 7s and 8s, and they went from 7 and 8 to, 12 to 17 or so is about where it capped out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's huge, right? That's a big rate. Okay. The average house, however, at least in this area, was like $35,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so now let's talk about right now. Right now, the last 4 years, we've seen in Rutherford County, we've seen houses double in price. We've had 100% inflation in 4 years' time, right? And they have not come down when rates went up. The prices, we're going to go over that here in a second. Prices are effectively zero, right? They're the same as they were this time last year. It is literally zero year over year, October to October. Okay? So that's one piece. They've doubled in 4 years. Wages have definitely not doubled in those 4 years, right? If they've gone up at all, it's less than 10%.
Wages haven't doubled in a long time.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And rates went from the 2s and 3s and 4s, so they, depending on exactly when you bought, they either doubled or tripled. So affordability went down by as much as 300%, and wages didn't go up at all.
Right.
So it's not the same, y'all.
No,
it's not the same.
It's not. And if you think, and also in the context of just with the percentage of household budget that your family's income, how much of that was going towards mortgage, even in 15, 16%, and it's nowhere near what we're seeing now at the purchase prices that we have and where interest rates are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so please stop making those comments because they're not valid.
I'm seeing less of that, but
me too.
But you still do from time to time, and it's usually somebody on social media that just wants to.
Wait, you mean social media is not accurate?
Every once in a while, it might be.
What's that whole blind squirrel thing? And I'll tell you what else has happened for the first time in my career in this industry in 14 years. And listen, you purists out there, you investor types, I get it. I'm not exactly accurate with this, okay? But just hear me out, all right? If you were to go buy a house today in West Fork subdivision in Smyrna, okay, which is for whatever reason I always refer to that. It was where my first house was, so it's the starter house neighborhood, right? So 1,200 square foot, all brick, 1-car garage, okay, third of an acre lot. I mean, it is a picture perfect little neighborhood, right? If you were to go buy that house today, that house would run you about $360,000, give or take. Okay, let's say $340,000 to $370,000. All right. So if you did an FHA loan on that, Brian, quick math. Okay, what's the payment? FHA loan, 3.5% down. That's where most people get their first mortgage, right? On a 370. Let's go at 350. Let's see how fast he is, y'all. Spitball it. I'm going to spitball it at $2,400. Dead air.
Yeah, you're 2375.
Hot diggity. I had no calculator, and I said 2,400. Anyway, all right, $2,400 payment, and I have not calculated that.
Now, time out. That's just principal and interest.
Okay.
That doesn't include escrows.
So $2,700
That doesn't
payment.
include PMI either, and you're going to have that on an FHA loan as well. So, yeah, you're probably $2,700, $2,800.
Yeah, you could even potentially, depending on exactly what your rate is, you could brush $3,000, right? Do you know what that house rents for right now?
2,500,
No.
2,800, 4,000.
No, maybe $2,000.
Maybe $2,000. Okay.
It's probably more like 18 or 19. Yeah. So it's the first time that it's actually cheaper to rent than buy. Now, are there tax incentives? Are there, wealth building? Yes. All of that stuff. Sure. But if I am just a brand new family or a single person that just needs somewhere to lay my head at night and somewhere for my kids to go to bed, I'm very payment sensitive. Why would I not rent that house?
It makes a lot of sense. If you're an investor, if you're putting 25% down, that's going to change that mortgage payment a lot. But as an investor, what are you seeing out there from your investor clients and their appetite for buying right now?
They're not buying anything on the MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't. If cap rates again are not they're not the end all be all, but I'm seeing cap rates at like 5%.
Yeah.
Well, why the crap would I tie up a huge chunk of money at 5%?
Yeah.
Instead of I just throw it in almost throw it in a money market and make that.
At least that way you're liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're close at that point.
Yeah. I was talking with an investor. I guess it was, excuse me, it might have been, I think it was Friday. It was Friday afternoon. And he was like, man, help me make sense of this. How do I make it work? And I was like, man,
you don't.
The math doesn't lie here. Unless you're not financing, then it's hard. You're not going to break even on the property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're financing which is what you want to do, right? You leverage, then yeah, you're not going to break even.
No, it's a very interesting position, and the solution is wages have to go up, or prices have to come way down, or rates have to come way down to get it back into this balance where we can move forward.
So what do you think that happen? Which way does it go? What's your tea leaves? If you're talking to somebody right now, it's like, hey man, it's the end of the year, we're thinking about buying. Should we wait and see if rates come down? How do you frame your conversations with those clients?
I mean, I think at this point, I think we all believe, and not just wishful thinking. I think all the indications are that rates are going to come down.
Right.
Right now, how much are they going to come down? And you can probably speak to that better than I can. I think that in order for us to really have a forward-moving train again, we've got to see them in that high fives, low sixes, just to get everybody feeling good, and feeling good's not even the right word. It's like feeling okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, I think prices are gonna. I mean, but they're not showing any sign of coming down.
Right.
And the reality is, I mean, you look back at those numbers. We have right now available 859 units in Rutherford County, single family, 859 available units, right? And 446 of those are new construction.
Yeah. And I know one thing about builders is they're not lowering their prices.
No.
They're throwing out all kinds of incentives.
And that's what's not captured.
And they're throwing out all kinds of money, but they're not touching the sales prices because they know when the market swings back and rates come lower, they can back off how much of incentives they're offering, and but they want to protect their comps.
Because it's hard. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's it's a slow burn to get your price up.
Yeah.
But we can throw you a $10,000, rate buy down or more in some cases. Pay all your closing costs, whatever.
Yeah.
Put blinds in, put a fence up.
You can eat all those soft costs. But they don't want those prices coming down.
That's it.
And so I don't know. I think that there may be a little bit of both that happens if we can get rates to that point. Because I think at that point, there's somebody whose family's busting at the seams in their home and they really need a bigger space. Maybe they're ready for their second home or their third home. They're going to be able to bite the bullet, so to speak, of going from 3.25, 3.5 to low high fives. They'll be able to. They'll figure out a way to make that work because they'll just be so fed up with their living situation and ready to move that when we can get to that range, they'll make the move.
But Brian, what's that going to do to prices?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You're going to see pent up demand explode,
but it's going to be a slow walk back, right? Like
I don't think so.
You think it'll just be like, boom, let's go?
I think, well, okay, maybe, right? I see what you're saying. So if rates today are at 7.5, right? Some people at 7.1875 or whatever.
Right.
Okay, there's my number, right? Other people at 6.99. Okay, there's my number. Other people it's 6.5, whatever. I get that, but I think that you have groups of people at each of those numbers, and I think as like if you bell curve it, basically 6.5, that's going to be a lot of folks' number, right?
I think so.
6 flat, that's going to be even more folks' number,
right?
And I think that there's enough pent up demand. I mean, look at the units,
right?
There's enough pent up demand that.
Well, and where does that demand go? Like, what's available? Because the person who's sitting on a home that they spent $750,000 on, they maybe aren't moving. maybe they're like, we bought this house in 2020, 2021, and it was our forever home, and we're not going anywhere.
Maybe,
So
or
it's going to be harder for that family that's in their second home to move up to their dream home.
or the flip side, they bought their third home, and they still paid $600, $650, whatever for that third home. And when they did that, they brought equity from their second home, and they brought $400,000 worth of equity into that. So they're only sitting on a $250,000 worth of payment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so the jump from that $250,000 at say 4% interest to $350,000, $450,000 at 5.5% or 6% interest, it's not an enormous jump.
Right.
So for them, it's and they want the space, or they're downsizing because kids left, whatever. Right. It's not a huge jump.
I think the biggest thing, or not the biggest thing, but I think one thing that's become clear to me is that it's going to be hard to downsize. It's going to be really hard to make it make sense to downsize unless you're really if you're thinking, hey, we're empty nesters now, the kids are gone, but it's time for us to downsize. You're probably not really truly going to do that until your home and the yard becomes too much maintenance for you, and you're going to go into some kind of.
Except that if you've been smart through this, you've upsized correctly and you've built up a ton of equity.
Right.
And so your downsize purchase is going to be cash.
Yeah, and it very easily could be, but how much of that? How much cash are you tying up compared to?
Oh, it's all of your house cash.
Yeah.
Right. So at that point, it's just a shuffle.
Yeah.
So if I've got an $800,000 house with $300,000 mortgage on it,
right,
I've got $500K in equity, right, and I sell it, even if I lose $50K in equity, I've got $450K. I can buy a little 2-bedroom house for $450,000, a nice one.
Yeah.
And so all my equity, I lost 50,
and you still put money in your bank,
and I've still got equity.
Yeah.
And that equity's still in an appreciating asset.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just a shuffle.
Yeah.
All of what I cut off was the leveraged money.
It'll be a lot of people though who didn't do that, who will be in a harder position to downsize because and there could have been some logic behind this. And I think a lot of my clients said this and said, hey man, I can get a mortgage I could put down $250,000 more, but I'm a little bit behind on my retirement savings. So I'm going to actually finance a lot of this purchase at 3%.
And even so, okay, great. So you sunk $100K back into your retirement.
Good for
awesome.
You
All you did is just moved your equity to something else that's generating wealth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fun times.
Yeah.
I think though that if you're that person right now is like, should I buy or should I wait? I think if you decide to go the waiting route and see what happens, you want to be in on the first wave of people coming back into the market.
Well, there's an inherent risk with either option, right? So the risk with buying now is that your payment is high.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just is. And there's a possibility that prices will drop. I mean, we're flat right now year over year, okay? It's possible that prices will drop. We've seen some months as we've gone through this cycle where, prices have dropped. Last fourth quarter, they dropped about 9%. They came back up during the second quarter. So that's a risk. There's also the risk that you're just not going to get what you want. Yeah. I mean, what we haven't even talked about the institutional buyers that now own over 2% of all. 2 companies own over 2% of all the houses in Rutherford County.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
There are 2 companies that own 2% of the entire housing inventory, not available inventory, all of the houses in Rutherford County.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And those houses, in my opinion, will never be on the market again.
I don't believe they will.
There's no reason for them to.
No.
So, there's a risk there. The risk of waiting is prices do go back up or continue to go up, even if it's a little, and rates don't drop.
Yeah.
Or they don't drop enough, or, you hit a hard time, because what we also haven't talked about is the big R word.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is all of this manipulation has been designed to try to get us to recede our.
Yeah. And we haven't really done it.
No.
You know, all of this has, man, what a resilient economy we've shown.
Stubborn is probably a better word. If we would have just hurt like 9 months ago, we'd be through this already.
Yeah, it'd be over. It'd be done. All moving on.
Yeah.
Would be in a recovery. But no, so they wanted to pull off a soft landing. Are they going to actually succeed in doing it? Or is it going to be enough's enough and we're going to go into that kind of, you know, the big R word?
Yeah.
It's funny how as time goes on, in 2022, I thought, hey, I think they might actually do it early in 22, and then as 2022 rates continue to rise and things didn't get worse to make things get better eventually. I thought maybe we're gonna have to like go lean so hard into this, you know, this interest rate increases that it actually will be impossible to do the soft landing. It's going to come crashing back down. And now, you know, we're sitting here a year later, and I'm like, man, you know, resilient, stubborn, whatever you want to call it. Maybe we're pulling off the soft landing, because I think you're starting to see a little bit of consumer behavior change. I don't have any data off the top of my head to back that up. Just, you know, personal anecdotes and what I hear from my friends and what my family's doing. And so maybe we can pull it off. Maybe we can pull off that soft landing, and we don't have to have a lot of unemployment. You know?
I'm ready to be done with it. I think I want a hard landing. Let's get her done. Let's just suck it up. And
man, that's tough for a lot of families, though.
I know,
especially in 2008 when it hit. You know, that's, you know, that was right around my dad's retirement age. You know, and the twilight years of his career. And I just, you know, I got a big old soft heart, and I think about everyone who might be, you know, in that phase of their lives, and then to go into that, it's
well, the reality is you're just a nicer guy than I am. Yeah, so, and I'm okay with that. I mean, that's fine. But yeah, I
just think about the human aspect of it. And
I do too.
And all actual people in those unemployment reports.
I know. I know. You're right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you know, the last Federal Reserve meeting or whatever, they basically did nothing.
Right.
Kind of kicked the can down the road.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of folks that see that as a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Right.
I believe that it is.
Yeah. And I think your rates, your market reacted to that as if it was a good thing.
Yep.
We
saw mortgage rates finally retreat some. Excuse me. After that, and I think the Federal Reserve is kind of in a spot now where they're like, all right, we've done a lot. Let's let what we've done work before we lean into that too hard. Like I was just saying, maybe they don't. Mm-hmm. Maybe they realize that if they do keep leaning into that increases in rates, it could cause us to fall off that cliff. So if they continue to kind of just have a wait and see how things go, and unemployment numbers continue to go up and payroll numbers continue to go down, then that's going to give them the confidence that they've done enough and they can just kind of ride this thing out. And then,
but I think they'll slow walk the rates down.
They're
absolutely.
Not gonna. They don't want the Volcker mistake to happen. You know, they said that all along when they started raising rates. Just because things slow, just because we may not have to raise them anymore, doesn't mean we're going to start lowering rates. So I wouldn't expect them to lower their target funds rate anytime soon. Mm-hmm. But what might start to happen is more liquidity come into the mortgage-backed securities market, and as that starts to happen, maybe we get more in line with the traditional 2% spread to the 10-year, and that's when we'll see mortgage rates and having enough improvement to get into the ranges that you and I have talked about. Because
the reality is that right now, mortgage rates, and if you geek out on this stuff, mortgage rates are not following a historical pattern right now.
Correct.
They're higher than they, quote, should be.
Yes. Yeah. And that's because of the lack of liquidity, you know, and like that one particular investor that I was talking with on Friday, he was just like, man, I don't want to pay points. And well, for an investment property, you're going to have to. And there's a lot of value in points right now. So for people who are thinking about buying, you know, you can hedge some against the rate stalling out by buying it down a little bit. And there's opportunity there.
Well, and you guys are doing that. What's the lock thing? The 2 month? What?
Yeah. So
tell me about that.
Lock and shop was a thing that got real popular last year. We're doing a lock and drop where we'll give you you can go ahead and lock in. Now I don't know if we're going to continue this into December, and today's November 27th, so I might be talking about something that's got a 3-day shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're thinking that you're in the next 60 days you want to buy a home, you can go ahead and lock your rate now. Go out there and shop. You don't have to worry if the market spikes back up, because we've seen the market really cool off. Right, rates have dropped in the last 3 weeks. So if you can lock now, and if rates continue to drop when you go into contract, we can relock you, float you down, and there's no charge, there's no games, there's no what's the worst case scenario. It's just we'll do a market to market reprice of your mortgage, of your lock. If rates go up, you're good. You're protected. You don't have to worry about that. So there's no risk to this other than, if it just takes you longer than 60 days to get to the closing table.
And so you do have to close within 60 days.
Right.
Okay.
Now, that's one thing that we've got going. The other thing that we've still got is the no lose November, where we don't want to lose anything to rate. So if you've been working with an online lender or somebody that your realtor doesn't trust to actually deliver like a timely close, if you need to close in 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever that time frame might be for your file to work, whatever reason, you just want to get a better rate, bring us your numbers, and we'll make sure that we won't lose right now on rate. And if we say, hey man, that's actually too good, we can't do it, then we'll just pat you on the back and say, you got a great deal, man.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
And most of those are with new construction. The big guys that own their own mortgage company.
That's tough to compete with right now.
They're using their mortgage company as a loss leader.
Yeah. And then there's the bounce back, right? That's not just something that's going to come and go away. The bounce back program is where you buy now, go ahead and we close, we do your mortgage for you, and we look up, and as long as you've made your first 6 payments on time, we'll refinance that mortgage for you if there's an opportunity to, with no loan application fee, and we'll also make sure that you don't have to pay for an appraisal. We'll either get an appraisal waiver or we'll give you a credit to take care of it.
Gotcha. Very good. All right, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate having somebody that is in the know and able to articulate that, because it's complicated, it's scary, and I forget sometimes what I do know, so we can have conversations, and then I start spouting out some of those same things, and some of my clients are like, what? And it gets intimidating. I get that. So if you want somebody that can talk to you in your terms, no matter how sophisticated you are, right? Top, bottom, doesn't matter. I think Bryan's your guy, and I'll be happy to sit with you and translate if he does go over your head. So
I think something I've heard you say 100 times is now a good time to buy? If it's right for you, then it is. And at the end of the day, I think that's the best advice that we can give to people. Is like, let's talk through this.
That's right.
Is it right for you? Is it right for your family? And here's the reasons why it may be. Here's the reasons why it may not be. And we'll just have a conversation about that.
And the number one thing that you need to know about the two guys sitting at this table right now is that the conversation is going to be motivated by your needs. It is not because I need to get a paycheck.
Right.
I'm good right now. Bryan's good right now. We of course we want your business, but we want your business because we want it to help you.
Right. We want it to be at the right time for you.
That's right. Yep. All right, Bryan, I appreciate you, man. Anything else cool going on?
Gosh, just Friday night, the Christmas tree lighting downtown Murfreesboro.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be a good time.
Yep.
So my daughter's singing at the campus school choir.
Nice.
So we're going to go and watch that, drink some hot chocolate, kind of do a little shopping around the square.
Heck yeah. That's going to be awesome. The 15th, Cedar Glade.
Yeah.
We've got a fun Christmas show. It's going to be the Santa's Little Helper show. So we've got Chuck and Charlie coming in. They are a blast. Excuse me. And there may be a semi-celebrity Santa Claus there.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I hope that there is.
Yeah, it's a possibility that this particular guy is going to come out of retirement. So, not going to reveal any names, but it's something you won't want to miss. So that's over at Cedar Glade, and then we've got our Procrastinators Craft Fair. If you're like me, just put this on your calendar because you know you're going to need it. Please do yourself and your loved ones a favor and do not go shopping at Walgreens on Christmas Eve. Okay, come to Cedar Glade. Have a beer, get some cool stuff on December 23rd, and hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you get there and we've saved your relationship, then maybe you'll just break into some Christmas carols. It'll be great. That's all I got.
Great.
Trent, how about you?
No, I don't have anything. That was good stuff, though. As always, appreciate you both.
Yep. How's that new Carolina tattoo looking?
Hey, get out of here. This ship has sailed. It's hard right now.
Love you, man.
It's painful. Okay. Love y'all too.
All right. You guys have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.